Welcome back to Severe MMA, and today I am delighted to be joined by Ireland's newest UFC signing, the sniper Dean Barry.
Yeah,
Dean, you
how's
must
it
be
going?
absolutely delighted. How are you getting on?
Great, yeah. It's been overwhelming to say the last few days has been a bit crazy, but I'm the luckiest man alive right now. I can't believe it. So it's something that I've really wanted. So I'm so blessed. Yeah, it's great.
And Dean, I know it's been a crazy year 2020 for everyone with the COVID-19 pandemic and everything like that. But you have an amazing story. Like I know there've been a lot of ups and downs for you both in and out of the cage this year. So would you be able to kind of just walk us through your 2020? Because I know a lot's gone on, and congratulations on becoming a father as well.
Thanks very like I don't even, not that I don't care. Like I'm absolutely over the moon, but I just in love with my little son. Like I can't think about it. Like I even put up a post this morning and I was awake sitting in my bed at 5 in the morning, just counting down the hours so I could go and see him. Like it's a love you never thought you'd have. So it's great, I'm really happy with that. But yeah, it was a mad year. It was a crazy year for everybody, like 2020. And I almost feel like even with the pandemic, 2020 was the year that just stuff just kept happening to people for like, do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like it came in trees, like in waves. Like yeah, there was a pandemic, but a lot of people went through a lot of different difficult things in their life, and I for one kind of had a bit of a bittersweet year, so to say. Like I'm from a very close family. Like anyone who follows me, everything is just about my family. Like I live and breathe for them. I see them, my grandparents every single day of the week. Like my grandmother's like my mom, and in March, the start of March, just before lockdown happened, we kind of went into lockdown. She had a terrible accident. She fell downstairs one night and out of nowhere, and tragically, she fought for 10 days. I think 10 days in hospital, and she's so strong, such a good fighter, and that's probably where I get it from. But she couldn't hold on, and she lost her life, and it was devastating for my family because I've got an uncle with special needs who needed her. He was spent every day with her. She's like his carer as well. So seeing him heartbroken, it just tore me apart, and my mom and everybody, and it was just devastating. Like I've never lost somebody in my life, to be honest with you. I never lost someone that was close with him. So it just took me by surprise. And then the pandemic and not being able to, do a correct funeral and stuff like that, and the afters to see everybody, it was just horrible, man. And I'm only kind of learning how to kind of deal with it, with grief, and get on with things now. But I found after that happened, I just went into such like I wasn't depressed. Like I think that's a strong word to use. I was upset. I was heartbroken. I just didn't care about nothing. Like you could throw anything at me and I just wouldn't care. Like, and I found out like a few days later I was going to be a father, and then that was even more. It kind of was painful in its way because me and my grand spoke about that every day. Like, he would have a kid first, would it be me or my brothers and stuff, and then it kind of broke my heart really, because she couldn't see him. But in a way, she gifted me and my family with a son. Like that's the way I'm looking at it. She blessed us with another life. So um after I found that out, then my world just went upside down. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a father. There's a pandemic. Like everything's closed. I was like, I don't have a job. I don't have anything. And I was scheduled to fight in March, the 20, I think it was the 23rd of March. I was supposed to fight in Dominican Republic on Titan. I think the guy I was meant to fight was 5-0. I can't remember who he was. And then obviously they pushed it back to April. And then April 26th against the same guy. And then that got pushed back again because of COVID. And I was still training throughout it and trying to, just trying to keep going for the sake of my kid, like trying to keep the momentum going, excuse me. And then it just kept getting pushed back and pushed back, and I was just in such a bad rut, man. Like I'm not a big drinker. Like I don't go out like drink a lot, but I was drinking a few times and just sitting on my own drinking and stuff. And I kind of felt myself going like, what am I doing with my life? I gained so much weight. I went up to I gained like almost 10 kg. I went up to like 87 kilos, and I usually naturally walk around about 78 kilos, and I just had these big boobies on me, and I just felt horrible. And it was just a crazy time, bro. Like I remember I was there you remember in July they closed everything. You couldn't even train your gyms. They actually had to really shut them. there was no like behind closed doors or nothing like that. But I remember shadow boxing outside my back garden, and I just threw like a few uppercuts, and I just felt like man boobs just shaking, and I just stopped and looked at myself and said, "Get your act together for your son. Get it together. Like that's it. Cop on." You know, I had to just really sit back and think about everything. I let the loss of my granny just destroy me, you know, and I had to try to be strong for her and my family and stuff like that. So that was kind of where I was at then. And then I was working full time in an office. I hated it. I was working crazy hours, wasn't training, bro. I had given up on MMA. Like just before I clicked with like a fight, I had actually in my head given up. I had thought, you know, you're gonna be a dad, there's no fights, no nothing, just this is you. I was making nearly 3,000 a month in the job I was doing. I was making big money, and I was just miserable. I hated it. Sitting in an office just thinking about fighting, and all I could think about was fighting. And then my manager rang me with a fight for July. He offered me a guy, like I won't say who it was, but he offered me a guy in Abu Dhabi. They offered me a Russian guy. Ridiculous amount of fights, like, and no losses or nothing. And I'm on the phone. I'm like, yeah, cool, yeah, I'll fight him. Like, and I sent it to Owen, and Owen texts me back within 2 seconds. He's like, you absolutely not fight here. Like, he's like, look at the state, yeah. And I wasn't training or nothing. And then like I just say yes to anyone they offer me. Like I never even look at them. I just say yeah, like, and because I'm more focused on myself, you know. So, but then I got offered the fight against Abdullah for September, and he's 7-1, and in all his wins I think are by knockout or one submission and knockout. And I just said, yeah, bro, packed my job in. I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I just got this big burst of like this like love and energy, and I just went for it. I trained my arse off. I lost all that weight. I went over. I fought the guy. Abdullah was 10 pounds heavier up. I fought him at a catch weight because he wouldn't make the weight. And I just didn't care. Like at the time, they could have given me anybody. I would have still fought. And yeah, got a great knockout. Unbelievable. And then yeah, I fought 4 days after that. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling on so much here, but
No,
4
you're
days
grand.
after
Continue.
that,
This is great stuff.
4 days after that, I kind of knew I was going to the UFC. Like, so it was a pretty while back. Like we were going to actually see if I could stay on and go to Fight Island from there. That's why I put a post and said, "Come see me," like, because I was fit. I didn't take any damage. He hit me a couple of like hammer fists like to the side, and there was no pain or nothing. Like, and so I was fine, you know. I was fit and healthy, but then there was nobody at the weight that I was going to fight at that pulled out around. So yeah, that's where I was at, bro.
Yeah, and firstly, I'm so sorry to hear about your nan. My sincere condolences. I noticed like when you got that first round knockout at UAE Warriors 13, it was clearly a very emotional time for you. Like, was that kind of like your release in a way from the kind of the crazy, like the emotions of the previous kind of 6 months and the ups and downs and the grief?
Sorry, I swallowed that water. Trust
It's all right, bad timing
the water
there.
goes down the wrong. It always happens. Yeah, like when, like I went over to that fight. I didn't have a penny, had no money. Like I had nothing. I had a kid coming. My family was helping me. Like my family kind of supported me going over, and I had so much weight on my shoulders because at the end of the day, like when you're 2-1 and you're going into Abu Dhabi to such a big show against their little star fighter, I had everything to lose. Do you know what I mean? I had everything. Like if I went 2-2, that's it. For me personally, that was it. I was like, so I had a son coming and stuff, and I was so stressed,
So
bro.
would you have walked away from MMA had you lost that fight?
I don't know, Andy. Like I don't know. Like everyone's different. But I started MMA, and I said, look, if I'm doing MMA, I gave myself a personal goal. Everyone is different. Everyone can, you know, whatever they do, so be it. I gave me a goal, myself, a 3-year goal, and I said I will get to the UFC within 3 years. And I said that's it. I'll get there. And of course, people are gonna laugh and say, "Shut up, you!" Like, yeah, right. You didn't even do like MMA in your life and all. And I said I'll get there in 3 years, and I just didn't care. I didn't want to go to any other promotion. I had got offers from other shows. I did get offers from other promotions. I actually didn't even.
Name them.
So I don't know if I can or not. Like, but
I'm only joking.
Yeah, I was offered other shows even before I even made my debut. I was offered a pretty decent show, and I just said no. I'm only doing it for the UFC, and if the UFC never came, I'd walk away a happy man that I tried, and that was the only place I wanted to go. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with any other promotion. That was just my own personal goal. Like there's other huge promotions that are brilliant that people are smashing and making a killing on. Especially a lot of Irish people are doing amazing on like the other promotions and stuff like that. And I watch every single one of them and support them all. So that was just my own personal one. And I would think it's been under 3 years in total that I've been doing MMA. Like, because I did have a 6-month hiatus after my first pro fight where I came home and I had no MMA gym. I was running in the park and, sparring with my own brother and stuff. And
Yeah.
then I met Owen and he changed my life.
And I want to
So
talk to you about your background in a moment. But first, I suppose, so after that KO in Abu Dhabi, or sorry, in Dubai, um, was at that point, was there conversations? Like, I know today we broke the story in Severe MMA that you had been signed, but this isn't something that's just happened overnight. Like, this has been in the works kind of for the last 2-3 months, going on behind the scenes. Like, when did the conversation with the UFC start? Um,
last year, like once I lost to Pretty Boy, I didn't care because I said if I lose one fight, I don't care. I'm gonna get back on and I'll learn because it's new. And when I lost to him, I learned so much because before when I fought Pretty Boy, I did zero jiu-jitsu or grappling. Like I'd only go up on a Tuesday and Thursday to own striking class, and I'd just go home, and it was my own fault. I didn't learn, and I learned a lot from it. But I made a great account of myself in that fight. Like if you watch it on YouTube, I was flying in it. You know what I mean? But I just had no jiu-jitsu. But you could see my level of striking to anyone else's there. So it was after the fight in Titan FC on Fight Pass last year. I had just got to the hotel. I just got back. I had a bit of pizza with Owen and my brother, and then my manager called me and he said they're looking at you. Like Shelby and all, really interested in me. I love my fighting style. They said they'd love to have me, but I just they needed to see something a bit more. So in my head, I was like,
so
oh, fuck.
you've been on the UFC radar then, because I know we kind of spoke off air privately where you were talking. Okay, maybe it'll be Contender Series, and this was kind of like a couple of fights ago. You were saying that, so you've clearly been on the UFC radar a while. So
Yeah, I've been I as far as I know, yeah, like and I think it's solely just because like there's only I think now I could be wrong, but there's only a handful of people that do MMA who would move like myself, and who has experience. Like I'm not just going in there and fighting in a karate style and just being in and out recklessly around. Like I'm a very technical, skillful fighter, and I don't think a lot of people know that. And a lot of people don't realize that until they spar with me.
yeah, Dean, talk to me about your experience. So, like, a lot of what people will see, right? So they'll, when people go on to say Tapology, okay, I haven't heard of Dean Barry yet, in MMA maybe, and this guy's after getting signed to the UFC. They go on to Tapology and see a 3-in-1 fighter, with only a couple of years experience in MMA. But that doesn't tell the full picture. So, I mean, you've had a lifetime of experience in martial arts. Am I right? Like, tell us a bit about your background in the WAKO, kickboxing federation and things like that.
Yeah, I'm fighting since I started my first kickboxing class. I think I just turned 11. My brothers all did it. Like I came from a family of fighters. Like my brothers were all world champions and European champions growing up, all Irish national champions. So are actually a very good family of fighters. Like we're very well known on the scene. Like the lot of us. So I grew up fighting for the Irish team my whole life, bro. I've traveled the world competing in every part of the world at the highest of the highest you can for my sport in junior and senior, and I won every world title you could win as a junior. Every major event you could win as a junior, I won world titles in each organization. Then I moved into the seniors when I was only 16, and I was beating all the males in like the best tournaments you can think of. I went on a 4-year streak there where I won every single major event in the world that you can actually win, like for kickboxing. I beat some of the best fighters in the world, and I was fighting for the American All Stars and everything, and that's with Raymond Daniels and stuff. I was his teammate and all, so I trained and with Ray, we traveled the world together with the All Stars and stuff, and I know Ray since I'm a baby, so since I'm a little kid, I looked up to him. So it was a pleasure when the All Stars called upon me to fight for them, and that never happened before. They never took a European person in. I always think it's the first person ever. So I won world titles, everything all over the world. America, I fought in America about 20 times. I won everything. Yeah, bro.
And can you kind of explain to maybe those who may not be familiar with the style of kickboxing that you do? Like, what does it entail?
So it's called, some people call it like points fighting, or some people call it sport karate or kickboxing karate. So it's basically, the aim of my sport was to be the most explosive fighter. You had to be super fast, and it was a game of inches, a game of timing. Who would make the first mistake? It was just explosive speed. Like you were dodging people coming at you like at lightning, and people who can control a distance diving across on you. One thing that transitioned over into MMA is, it's almost like I see things in the fucking, not in the Matrix, but I can see things. Like I can almost slip, and I know exactly what I'm gonna do before I position myself and stuff. And that's because I came from a sport of just like extreme speed and timing and distance and that kind of stuff. It's like a mimic of karate. So you'll hit whoever hits first, you stop. And same with, like, you know, head kicks and sweeps and stuff like that. So it's exciting to watch, and it's where all the likes of Raymond Daniels, Michael Page, and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson all came from. It's the same sport. So that's what I don't think people realize. I was one of the best in the world at that. Like I was there with Ray, Stephen, Michael Page. Like I was that man for like the Irish team. So, but I'm not one of them that'll sit there. I'm just explaining it, but I'm not one of them that will tell people constantly about it. But
And then talk to me about your transition over to MMA. Like, did you immediately find, was it Owen Roddy that you've been training with from the beginning, or?
no, so I did a bit of traveling. I went to Canada. Went to Canada in 2017, and I went into Tristar, and I was pretending I knew jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I was like, yeah. I was like, I did loads of that before. And then remember I
Dude, a second, did
sparred.
you say you're pretending? Were you just bluffing, or did you actually know any?
No, of course I didn't know any. I didn't do anything.
So you
I never
stroll
did
into
full contact.
you stroll into TriStar. All right, GSP, go on, let's have a roll.
So I never did a full contact sport. Like my sport was controlled. Like you can hear, yeah, you kick hard and you can hit hard, but you stop and it's all controlled. So I never actually did full contact fight. So I went in there and just talked out my arse, man, and just prayed that, like, you know, I was one of them. I was like, I'm just gonna fake this till I make it. And I knew somebody that knew GSP from the sport karate world, because he was a big fan of it. And the guy I knew was Samuel Gagnon, his name was. He's a points fighter. I fought him a lot growing up, and he told GSP I was coming over. So what happened was, I was sparring and I was moving around with the problem, and within a few seconds, like, Faraz came over and was like, you do karate, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I came from that background on. He was like, come to the pro class tomorrow. And he said, I want you to turn up at the pro class. And I went, and it was jiu-jitsu. And I remember I made friends with Rob. He's the guy who does be in my corner, like, with Owen sometimes. And I met him, and Faraz was saying something like, everybody into X-Guard, we're doing reverse De La Hiva or something. I can't remember what it was. And I just looked at Rob and I was like, hell.
Get me out of here.
Me now, like, I was like, I'm gonna get yeah, I was like, I'm getting launched out of this class, and I was disgraced. So, bro, like, it was blatantly obvious I didn't know a thing, like. So I just winged it, and then we were sparring, and then George, I was in the cage sparring, and George came over to me, and he's like, oh, Dean, Sam told me about you, and he's like, I want to train with you. And then I was like, yeah. But to be honest with you, Andy, I followed MMA, but I didn't really follow it. I used to just love watching Conor fight, and like he's the reason I said Irish people have a hope at making something of themselves. So it was a lot of credit to him. He's the reason why I said, you know what, I'm gonna chase it. I'm gonna do it. So I didn't really know the extent of who GSP was, to be honest with you. Like, and when I was training with him, everybody was telling me and all, like, my page blew up. People were like, you do realize who that is? And then I became really good friends with him. He was like, I go off and train privately with him, he has his own gym, and every day we train together. He'd take me out to eat. Like, he kind of was like a big brother over there, because I was over there, like, I couldn't even afford sugar or milk. Like, he's just took care of me.
That's
And
amazing as well, to have one of the greatest of all time in the sport, like your first
yeah,
jiu-jitsu class, and you're thrown in with him and takes you under your wing. That must have been an amazing experience.
absolutely phenomenal. I have pictures on my page of videos, like, because I helped him with the Michael Bisping camp. Like, he was getting me to do all the points fighting with him. And Michael Bisping, right? He blocked me on Instagram for no reason, right? I'm a big fan of his. I really like him. And that's why I was saying, like, if I ever get to the UFC, I'm gonna say it to him. He blocked me for no reason. I remember he was saying, like I see you doing your little like pussy sport karate, George. He's like, ah, ta, 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 and like just taking the piss. And I actually was laughing. I thought it was really funny. But then he blocked me on it, and I was like, what? Because I used to actually love watching Michael's stuff. Like, I was a fan of him. Like, and I think I like how cheeky he is and all. So I don't know why he blocked me on it. So if he's watching it, unblock me, because
You'll have to
I'm a
pull him up
fan.
in it
And I always say,
when you see him and at the next event.
yeah, I said if I ever get to the UFC, I'm gonna have to ask him, like, what's going on here, like, but you don't need to block me, do you know what I mean? But yeah, man, it was amazing training with George. Like, he used to take me out for dinner all the time, and he'd like bring me to train at the Olympic swimming stadium with him. Like, this man's work ethic, like, I like, you'd be exhausted looking at him, like what he does in a day. Like, it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And then was that a
Ridiculous,
summer
like.
in Canada, and then you moved back to Dublin?
I started MMA in June 2017. I done a month there. Then I came back to Ireland in July for 6 weeks. And I kind of just trained in the gym here at home, like just running and going to my kickboxing gym. And because I had a fight booked I took a pro fight for September the 23rd. So I've only done it for a few weeks, and I got offered Thomas Thatcher was the first guy they offered me. I think he had some amateur fights, and then he was 1-on-1 as a pro, or 1-0 as a pro. I can't remember. But he was kind of a wrestler, like he done a bit of wrestling in college. He was in the Marines and all, so it was just a fucking mad thing. So I said, yeah. I was like, yeah, cool, whatever, like, a fight him. And then they said, do I want to do any amateur fights? And I just said no. I just said, I feel like I have a career of amateur experience with the kickboxing. I was like, just let me get in, let me just learn. I was like, if I mess up, it's on me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm 25. I'm just going for this. And some people don't understand that, and some people do, but like, that's just me. That was me, how I felt my career needed to go. And everyone's path's laid out for them in life, and that was just mine. I went for it. It worked out. I went home in September. I went to Lanzarote with my family for a week. And then I just didn't do anything till February. Met Owen. One of the guys told me to come out and train with them, with Owen. And I went out to one class.
Sorry, just to clarify, so you took your first fight. You didn't even have a coach or anything. You just took a fight.
I took it with Tristar. I represented Tristar for my first fight.
Okay.
Because I said to Faraz, I was like, because now, in fairness, when I was sparring, I had no gas tank or nothing, but UFC boys were coming in, and I was outclassing a few of them. Like, that's the truth. And I was like, hang on a minute, like, there's something going on here. And the likes of like Ayman Sahabi, he's like one of the best in the gym. Phenomenal fighter. Like, I could hold me on with him for a couple of minutes because I had no energy, and he was just brilliant. But I learned so much from him. He'd always be in my ear saying, like, you're going to be an amazing fighter if you actually do MMA. I'd have Faraz saying to me, he's like, you could go to the UFC. Honestly, your fighting style, he's like, you don't get hit. He's like, the way you fight, you're just gonna crack people with that movement and the speed. And I just had a lot of encouraging stuff from people. Do you know what I mean? And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And sometimes you have to believe your own shite. You have to just say, yeah, I am going to, like, because if you don't, you're going to sit there and then you're not going to believe it. And then you're going to go, oh, but could I get to the UFC? Like, I probably annoyed a lot of people. I'd scream it out, man. No problem. People rip the piss out of me constantly about it. Like, yeah, of course I'm going to the UFC. But like, if people aren't laughing at you, you're not dreaming big enough,
Yeah, 100%. And just touching on that, so like, as you've said there, you started in 2017. I mean, you've been doing MMA for 3 years. Obviously, you have a lifetime of experience in kickboxing and stand-up fighting previously. But what a lot of people will see now, right? They'll say, as you said before, a 3-in-1 fighter. Like, who's this guy? Like, he's only new to MMA. So, like, I suppose firstly, what was the decision making process like for you when you're a 3-in-1 in MMA, and obviously it's the UFC coming calling. Like, did you speak to Owen and Brian Butler, or how did you come to the decision that yeah, now is the time to fight in the UFC and to take that offer?
Um, it it was kind of more like my manager always said he thought I was special, like he thought I could like, and he's not. My manager's legit. Like people know him. He's got the biggest heart of gold, man. Like he manages Douglas Lima and all, like, you know, Zhang Weili, the UFC champion and stuff, and he
Paul
give me
Felder. Yes,
every
this Brian Butler is Sucker Punch Entertainment.
yeah, bro. He has a list of UFC fighters like champions and Bellator, this, that, and the other, and like ONE FC, the lot. But he would give me all his attention. Like this man would be texting me back first thing in the morning all the time, and I just believed in him. And Owen was the same. Owen just said he thinks I'm different. He said, you know, not. He said not many people walk past through his door, and he's felt like okay, he has it. You know what I mean? Like now. So he just thought the way I fight, he thinks I'm just going to be a nightmare matchup. And I believe I'm a nightmare matchup for anybody. Like once I'm still growing and everything, once I'm in the right matchups, you're going to see I'm just getting 10 times better every time I go out to fight. Like if you watch my fights, like I'm game to fight anyone. I come out and people say I'm a points fighter, but watch me fight. I go ham all the time. I don't care. Like I get in, no bother. Like I get in a scrap if I need it. But they just thought it was the right time for me. And to be honest with you, do you know what? It's like me like handing you a lotto ticket and saying, do you want it? And you're like, ah, no,
Yeah, I
give it
mean, of
to me.
course you're gonna take, like, if the UFC come calling, of course you're gonna take it. But like, I suppose like when like there are gonna be people who will say, okay, this guy's 3-1, like he's not ready for the UFC. Like, what would be your response to that?
Just let me show you. Just watch me fight. Like, oh, look, I could go out here now and be amazing. I could go out here and shock myself even and just put on world class fights and be so exciting for the fans. I could make my country really proud, or I could go out and get smashed. But it's in my hands. Like people could be right. I could go out and do shit, but that's me. I'm here. I'm here to fight. I'm here. I'm not. There's no quitting me. I'm not afraid to fight anybody. You know, I believe in skills. I believe when I look at the vision that like I'm going to be going into the featherweight division, and I think I match up very well with a lot of the strikers and all in that division. Like I think I'll bring some phenomenal fights. I can't even pronounce that word properly, but I think I'm going to do really well. And that's just me being self-belief in it, and just, you know, I'm just going for it. And I love people to look at me instead of thinking negatively about it, saying like, you know, oh, like he's 3-1. Like, look, first of all, I'm a massive supporter of all the Irish fighters. Like my fight in Abu Dhabi, I watched. I'd only made the weight. I watched John Mitchell, Jack, his teammate. I watched Kiefer James, Richie, Danny Nealon. I watched Paul Hughes. I watched Ian Gary, and I was over the moon for them because they were all on the same card. Like, and I'm actually a fan of all of them. Like, I really, like, I was really happy they all done well. So I love people just to see like, okay, this man, it makes you can see that it's not impossible to get there with 4 fights. It's not. Wonder Boy got called up. He was 4-0. That's the same amount of fights. Yeah, I have one loss, but all my wins are by first round knockout, and
Yeah,
they're all really good knockouts.
yeah, and you mentioned two guys there, so like Paul Hughes and Ian Gary. So when the likes of say myself or Sean Sheen or Peter Carl or other members of kind of like the Irish MMA media, when we discuss fighters like those, like kind of big prospects who obviously like the lads in Bellator, there's a load of great prospects in Bellator, but that's a different route. So generally the Cage Warriors route will mean you're looking towards going to the UFC. So when we're singling out kind of prospects that might make it to the UFC, we talk about Paul Hughes, Ian Gary, who are maybe a couple of fights further on. And when we're discussing those, a lot of us will still say it's too early. Like it's even though they might be ready now, it's a little bit early, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, and then they'll be kind of at their prime. As far as when I say prime, I mean ready to go straight in there and make an impact. Now, I think I already know the answer to this question, but was there any ever hesitancy for you to say maybe, okay, I want this opportunity, but I want it a year from now or 2 years from now when I have a bit more experience? Or was it just a case that it's just too much of an opportunity to pass up?
Too much of an opportunity to pass up. And like talking about Ian there, like I've the same amount of fights as Ian. Like I really like his fighting style. Like if you watch him, he's so smart, he's so technical, and he's fun to watch. So is Paul. Paul Hughes is great. Like I don't know them personally, but I've followed them and supported their careers. First of all, I'd love nothing more to see a load of Irish people burst through. Like it was just I got the call now. It was my destiny now to go. Like they did at the end of the day, they didn't call me up for the shits and giggles. They called me for a reason. Maybe my fighting style is a bit different to what they're used to seeing. Maybe they think we could do well with this guy. Maybe I don't know, and only time will tell. And when I go for it, and all I'm going to do is grab this opportunity by the bollocks, and I'm going to try represent my country the best I can on the biggest stage in the world, and make people proud. I'm doing it to help my family. Like I wouldn't turn down them paychecks to support my family. Like that's all I care about. I have a son, and I'm not going to say no, bro. Look, could
Absolutely.
work out brilliant. Could work. I could. We don't know, but all I know is I'm going to go out and scrap. But I'm not. I believe I have the skills to do really well, and that's the truth with you. And I'm just getting better and better every time I'm training. Like even Owen will tell you, like I pick up things like that in the gym that take people months to learn. I'm on it within minutes. Like I can really learn quick, and you know I'm just going for it. And I pray to God that the lads do amazing and they all come straight through. And it's just a new wave of Irish people coming through, because I mean that when I say that I do sit down and support them all. I watch them all fighting, and I do chat with a lot of the Irish guys. There's some I haven't met yet, but some of the ones I named there I chat with and follow their careers and all. Like a lot of the SBG guys I watch fighting and stuff like that, and the likes of the lads up the north, like.
Yeah, yeah. And I appreciate the time, Dean. I know I've taken a lot of your time, so I have a couple more questions for you. So, firstly, you mentioned the featherweight there. Is that the plan? Is it not lightweight anymore?
I'm not a lightweight. Like I walk around with a little fucking pouch on me. Like I never cut. Like I cut weight, but I do it arse ways. Like I do cut like 8.5 kilos from Monday to Thursday within 4 days. Like so that's like nearly 16, 17 pounds. Like I do cut stupid weight, and it's my own fault. Like I diet, but like in between it, I'm like, oh, I'll eat a slice chocolate bar, I'll eat this and that. And I'm not, I need to get better at it. But I got my body checked. I got everything done. Like I should be naturally walking around at about 73, 74 kilos, because my body fat is like 15%. So that's high for a fighter. I think it was 15 or 16. Owen guessed 18 or something. I nearly gave him a slap. I was like, cheeky you.
And so
But
next fight, so your debut, it's going to be at 145 then, is it?
I don't know yet. Like I don't know what I can say on that, but
Okay.
my future is going to be in featherweight, because we sat down. I think I'm going to match up well with guys in featherweight. I'm 5'11". I'm not skinny, I'm pretty broad, and I've got a good fighting style. I'm quick, very fast for my weight. So I don't know, bro. Look, I'm
Okay, so
gonna just
maybe not the first one, but the long term plan is featherweight. So then
yeah,
that leads me to the next question. So this isn't just a one fight deal, right? Am I right in saying this is a multi fight deal?
yeah. I signed a multi-fight
Yeah.
contract with
How
them. Yeah,
many fights?
4.
4 fights. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing you mentioned kind of development and matchmaking. So like when you're going in here, obviously you're like, as you said, you've transitioned 3 years ago to MMA. When the things that you're picking up is at a rapid rate. So you're picking up your wrestling, you're picking up your jiu-jitsu very, very quickly. But that still means that you're developing as a fighter, as a complete mixed martial artist. So when you look at this opportunity, like, are you guys going in kind of are you going to be handled appropriately is essentially what I'm asking here, is from a matchmaking perspective, or
Yeah.
are you going to get thrown right in the deep end here?
No, they say so. They did say, they did like that. That's one of the reasons why we signed with them. Like they didn't just sign me to throw me in with anybody. Like they did say, we think we can do a lot with me. They said they'd love to build me up and see me do really well. They said if he's guided right, he could go really far. So that's probably one of the reasons we signed with them. Like, and look, at the end of the day, bro, I've read some of the stuff people are writing. Like some people are ripping the bollocks out of me, but I'm just laughing at it. Like, because what can you do? People have opinions, and people are entitled to say what they want. And at the end of the day, I'm not. There's no hate on my end if someone doesn't know who I am. Like I've 4 fights and I've fought, but I've had three official bouts cancelled, scheduled on Tapology. And they were, one was against a 5-0. One was a former UFC fighter who was just released. Like, and I can't remember who the other one was. But then I also had fights scheduled, like verbal ones done. Yeah, okay, boom, boom. Then stuff happened and I couldn't do them. Like, I think I had 3 of them. So I've been trying to fight for a while. Like, and it's not that, I can't get fights, but the fights I have went for, like stuff has happened, but look, everything happens. If you believe in serendipity, everything is meant to happen in life the way it's meant to happen. You are guided to where you're supposed to be, and it just worked out the way it did. And you know, people, I've been getting a lot of nice comments off people, and I think people will get to know me and just
I think it's
know.
inevitable that no matter what someone posts, there's always going to be one bad comment or two bad comments here and there. So it's going
Yeah,
to pay no attention to them. But
they're funny.
I know you said that like maybe you don't know fully, but you must have an inkling. Like why did the UFC choose you? Like there's a lot of guys out there that have say a 3-1 record, but why did they choose you? Like what makes you different?
To, bro, like I think to be honest with you, like it's my fighting style. Like I've had 4 fights, but count how many times I've been hit. Like count how many times anyone's actually landed on me. My fight in my fight in America last year, the guy Corey I fought was like 14 and something in pro Muay Thai. He was 10-10 as an amateur, and he had 2 belts. And then he was 1-0, but I don't know, 1-0 fight, but it was a bad fight he had. But he had a lot of fights, and he didn't land not one single punch. I checked one of his leg kicks, that was it, and I didn't even get touched. Pretty Boy didn't land a single glove on me, not one. I think he landed one out of the clinch, sorry. And then Abdullah landed a couple of little hammer fists on the ground. Other than that, wasn't even close to hitting me. And then my pro debut, he didn't even land a single shot on me. But it's the way my awareness of inside that cage and my ability of weapons I think I have. I don't know. I like to throw stuff that people don't see before. Like I like in my head, when my approach to fighting is, I know I'm going to win, but how am I going to steal the show from everyone else? That's my approach. How am I going to get that movie finished, that game finished, that people were doing it, you know, finish the move. That's the way I fight, and I'll wait for the right moment to do it. And I don't know, maybe they saw that in me, but
Yeah, and I agree, and I think you do. I think you have a very fan-friendly style. I think, like, if anyone who hasn't seen your fighting before, just go back and watch the last fight against Abdullah Al-Bushiri and the knockout there. Like, it was a highlight reel KO. So I think you definitely bring a flair with your striking style to the UFC that the likes of Dana White definitely, it's the style that Dana likes. So I think
yeah.
it's safe to say that like that's why you're in there. Like you have a very, very entertaining style that I think that can bring you places. But just a couple more last questions. So like when do you think we're going to see you in the UFC now? When do you have in mind?
As far as I know, I'll be fighting early 2021, like so early next year. I'm scheduled to fight, as far as I know. But there's just some stuff they're just doing, I think, before I can say anything on it. Like,
yeah. Well, Dean, I've taken up far too much of your time. I really appreciate it. We've been going on for a long time here, but we had a lot to cover. Congratulations, first of all, again on the birth of your son, Jace. So congrats on becoming a daddy.
thank you so much.
Congratulations on signing with the UFC. I know it's a massive occasion for you, and I mean, like just what a year! Like you said it all there earlier on in as we were speaking. So I mean, it's been an incredible year for you, and it's an amazing story. And I know that all of Ireland will get behind you because you're one of our own. I
Yeah.
know we can't pick favorites, but we always support the Irish in there. So, Dean, thanks a million. And where can people find you on social media and things like that?
I think my Instagram, my Twitter name is Dean Barry 123. I made it years ago. Like and then
That's right. I'm Andy Steve 123. So you know the stuff.
Serendipity, bro. There you go, brought us together. But my Instagram is Dean Barry _official, and you'll get me on that. That's kind of where I mostly post my stuff like that on it.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure we'll be speaking again before you make your debut. But again, congratulations and thanks a million for the time today, Dean.
Thanks so much.